Hello, everybody, and welcome back to At the Crossing Productions. Today's episode is a little bit different. This is mostly unscripted, but today's episode is going to be a review of the TruRail P42DC enhancement and texture upgrade, as well as some reskins in Phase 4 and Phase 3 of said P42 enhancement, which are done by Chessie / that M7. So yeah, so this enhancement is for the P42DC Empire Builder add-on for Train Simulator, and basically what it does is it sort of modernizes and um, rebuilds the original add-on to something a lot more detailed and something a lot more realistic. Um, this was originally developed, I believe, by G-Trax. It was either G-Trax or RSC. I can't remember off the top of my head. But for a long time, the P42 was seen as obsolete due to a number of lacking features, sounds, and just the general shape of the model that didn't really age too well. So TruRail stepped up, and instead of making a whole new locomotive, they pretty much just added on to what was already there, gave it a reworked texture, and redid a lot of the scripts and the physics of the engine to be more appropriate and more accurate to the real life P42. So yeah, starting off, as you can tell, the textures are very much different. This is the Phase 5 P42. This is what you get just when you get their enhancement pack. It's supposed to represent a modern, slightly weathered P42. Unfortunately, due to the limitations, they were not able to change the headlight to the more rounded style that P42s have now. Um, but overall, it's still a very nice representation of a modern Genesis locomotive. Some of the modeling done on this locomotive is actually new parts that have been added onto the locomotive. The base model cannot be modified per the rules that are, whatnot. That's just how that works. That you can't do that. You can't share it. But a lot of the models that are on the locomotive have like, some of them have been added. So the couplers, the plow, those are new. Those were done because the originals were very wacky and out of scale. Some different parts on the side of the body have been changed and not changed, but added on. There's a new horn, which the horn looks pretty nice. It's just this model. It's a lot more accurate to what was originally on there. Very nice model of a Nathan K5LA. So yeah, just a lot of overall improvements to the shape of the locomotive. Um, Obviously, the textures have been sized up from what they originally were, and they've also done some color correction to make it a bit more accurate. And yeah, so another interesting feature about this locomotive is that a lot of new details and features have been implemented into the locomotive. And some of those features include quilling horns. The sounds have been changed completely. Ground lights, headlights fading, number lights, and all that interesting kind of stuff. So there are a lot of new details that weren't previously on the locomotive. So for starters, we're gonna start up the locomotive, and to do that, I believe you just press Y, and the locomotive begins to start up. And now we have operational locomotives. You do notice that while doing that, the smoke is different as well. That is another effect that they've changed on the locomotive. You hear the GE air compressor noise. That's another thing that they've done. So overall, just revamp sounds in general to give the locomotive a more realistic feel. So, a lot of exterior features have been added. So, first and foremost, the headlights have 3 settings, which are controlled by H as per usual. This is dim, and you notice that the headlights fade on. So this is dim, this is bright, and then this is full, which includes turning on the headlights. And another interesting feature that they've added on this locomotive is that upon sounding the horn or quilling the horn, which is another feature, the ditch lights will flash. And they've also added a unique horn to this locomotive. And it's pretty good. So I'm going to sound the horn. You'll see the ditch lights flash, and it automatically rings the bell. So yeah. And you can see that the ditch lights, when they flash, flash accordingly to what, like, the speed of which they would normally flash, and they fade in and out. And they will go on for a little while after you honk the horn, until eventually they will reset to their default, like that. And yeah, so the horn can also quill. This is done by pressing the key N, and the quilled horn sounds like this. So yeah, and the horn is layered. It has distance layering, which is a feature that was originally done, I believe, by Searchlight Simulations, that has become almost sort of a standard if you want to be realistic in train simulator development with horns and whatnot. Smokebox has recently implemented that. on their Big Boy and FEF3 locomotives. So it's pretty much become like a standard, but this locomotive implements it, and if I go a little distance away and I honk the horn, you'll notice that it will sound different. And that is the layering that is applied to the locomotive. So yeah, and that is something that is becoming more of a standard, but it is still new, and not everything has it, so it's pretty cool to see it on this locomotive. You can hear the engine sounds are different from the original P42. The head and what the P42 is known for is that low hum of the HEP generator in the background. Very nice. And if I believe that you can self-load these locomotives, so if I put it in neutral and I notch it up, it will notch up. Yeah, so you can hear the locomotive notch up. You can definitely see the smoke effects. And yeah, so a lot more accurate to that chugging noise that GE locomotives are known for, especially on these P42s. So if you go all the way up to 8, this is what it sounds like, and then you can bring it back down to idle, and the locomotives will slowly come back down, and they'll go through the notches, and then you'll be back at that low hum. So, very nice. Definitely a lot better than what was on the original P42, and just a nice thing overall. So, a few other exterior features real quick. The number boards do light up, and I believe that's with Control N. Control Shift G turns on the ground lights, and you can turn them on and off. Same with the number. And then Control M controls your markers, and these are typically used in operation whenever a locomotive is on the rear end of a train. The original P42 didn't really have an option for that, so it's nice to see that implemented into this locomotive to have working marker lights. But yeah, so that's pretty much everything that you can do with the exterior locomotive. Windshield wipers work and everything like that. So yeah, let's hop into the cab real quick. And now the gates in front of me are going down. The screens on the locomotive are completely revamped and are accurate to the P42s. I believe that most of this is functional. I don't exactly know how to go through the screens, and I'm not even going to try for fear of ruining everything. But yeah, the screens, they do work. The speed gauge, I know for a fact that works. And so, all of that is just, those nice extra details. And so, yeah, as far as I know, the cab has also been sort of retextured. As you can see, a new Pepsi can. But yeah, most of the cab has been redone, and it looks very nice. And so yeah, I believe like a good portion of the controls are functional now, whereas they weren't on the original model. But yeah, so definitely an upgrade from what there was before. Inside the cab, you can turn on the lights, turn them off. You could do that on the original locomotive, but they weren't nearly as effective or good, so it's nice to have something that actually works. I have been inside of the cab of a real P42. We were given a tour, a few months ago, and this is definitely accurate to what we saw in the locomotive, and it's very nice to see that properly represented. P42s nowadays are kind of an aging locomotive. They're definitely not the cleanest, and but for what it's worth, I mean, this is pretty much, as good as it can be given the model limitations and everything going on this locomotive. Now, unfortunately, you can't open the doors, but other than that, this is pretty much a great representation of what it is in real life, and it definitely does feel like a real locomotive, having been inside of one. So yeah, one feature that I forgot to mention on the outside, I guess it doesn't really matter, you can see it from the inside, is that by pressing Control L, you can turn on and off headlight casting. Due to the way that the game's lighting engine works, light casting, especially in the daytime, looks pretty funky. It's definitely brighter than it should be, but at night I would recommend turning it on. It does help with operation, because otherwise you will not be able to see. But during the daytime, it doesn't have to be on. It's off by default. Yeah, I would just generally advise the use of that control. So yeah, there are a few other features on the locomotive that are pretty important. I believe, you have your standard sander and all that. You can break the you can set the handbrake on the locomotive, so that's a nice feature. A lot of locomotives don't have that, and I believe you do that by just pressing slash. But yeah, a lot of locomotives you can't actually set the handbrake, so I guess that's useful. And yeah, another thing I forgot to mention, and it's kind of hard to show off here because I have other locomotives in the consist, but you can control the rear headlights and marker lights as well, and that's by using a different control. So for the headlight, it's Control H and then Control Shift H to turn them off. For the marker lights, it is I believe Control Shift M to turn them on and off. And see, because I did the keybind wrong, they turn on the front. So yeah, you can control them either way. Again, that is something that wasn't on the original locomotive, and I'm glad to see that that's implemented in the way that it is. So yeah, we're going to move the locomotive forward a little bit just to do a proper crossing sequence, and also prep for the next little part of this, which is the reskins. So yeah, so you release the brakes and now it's moving backwards. for this part of the review, I am going to be decoupling the reskinned P42s from the original. So, yeah, probably not the most professional matter, but yeah. It is worth noting that the reskins, as you can hear, have a new horn which is done by Fan Railer, who is a prominent member of the modding train sim community. And he did a new horn for the reskins, but upon installation, you can actually choose whether or not you want to use the Fan Railer horn, which I guess would be a little bit more appropriate for the Phase 3 and Phase 4 P42s, or you can use the original horn, which is made by TruRail. It is worth noting that on the Fan Railer horn, it isn't layered. It sounds the same from afar. But it is a pretty nice horn. I think it's nice. I use it on the reskins. But yeah, and this is what the coil sounds like. And this is what the full blast horn sounds like. So yeah, but getting to the actual part of the segment, the reskins, which are made by Chessie /that_M7, if I'm not mistaken. These reskins, there are a few available. This is only 2 of quite a few options. So there is the Phase 3 P42, which looks like this. It's very nice. Again, it has, I believe it's 4K textures. I believe it's also the same for the default P40, the Phase 5 P42, if I'm not mistaken. So very nice textures. These are supposed to represent like brand new, just out of the paint shop kind of deal. But yeah, they're very nice. This is the Phase 3. The also included in the pack are P40s, and I believe with that the stripes on the P40 actually fades, and that's included in the pack. So that's a nice inclusion. And on the P40, it also has the emergency flasher and the flashing strobes on the top of the cab, which would normally be situated just above the windshield. So yeah, that's included. The lights don't flash, unfortunately, or at least as far as I can tell, but it is a nice inclusion. One thing to note about these reskins, though, is that they, as far as I know, they do not include like side numbers for whatever reason. But nonetheless, they're still definitely usable and they're very nice. As you can see, they have the white and black striping, and everything, as far as I know, is accurate. And so yeah, it's a very nice reskin. I've been using them a lot lately, and yeah. Over here we have the Phase 4 P40. You notice that it's numbered in the 800s instead of the you know, the 10s, the 100s, and the 200s. And these are also very nice as well. You know, your standard Phase 4. And I thought one neat detail, and this also comes in the pack, is that they also included the Northeast Corridor version of the Phase 4 P42s, which had gray that goes alongside the body towards the roof. So that it's a nice inclusion. That's also in the pack. And yeah, so the Phase 4 also comes with the option to install the fan railer horn, which I have, and I would definitely recommend these reskins if you're looking to operate like sort of like 1990s to early 2000s Amtrak, because they would definitely fit in very well in your consists, and that's what I've been doing lately. And yeah, so these are very nice. Overall, I think they complement the fleet very well. I think that they are definitely a nice thing to have coming right after the TruRail Phase 5 P42. It's nice to have a quality reskin of this era of Amtrak, and it's nice to see. And I definitely would recommend these as well as the TruRail Phase 5 P42 for anyone who wants to have a more realistic Amtrak operating experience in Train Simulator. Props to TruRail, FanRailer, and Chessie / that_M7 for developing these locomotives, skinning them, and the sounds and everything. They are definitely worthwhile, and it's all they all did it for free. Of course, these do require the original Empire Builder / P42 add-on. That is still a requirement, and that is a payware model. But aside from that, the reskins and the enhancements and everything, that is all free, and I will have links to everything in the description below. And without further ado, thank you everybody for watching. Make sure to go check these guys out. The people who developed the Genesis enhancement as well as these reskins, they're very talented people, and they have some other great things to offer up on their sites. So go check them out. If you guys want to see more of these review / overview type train simulator videos, let me know, and I will probably end up doing more of these because this is very entertaining. Before anyone asks, because I guess I'll probably get some requests in the future if I'm doing more reviews. I can't do a whole lot of Searchlight Simulation stuff because most of it doesn't run on my computer. There are a few models that I can, the Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern SD40-2s, which I'll probably do a review of later. But I can't run the AC44 or the SD40-2 or the Burlington Northern SD40-2 because my computer is horrible. So yeah, but aside from that, if you guys want to see more reviews, just let me know. And yeah, have a good day, everybody.